Welcome back to the AI Executive Podcast, the show that gives you a front row seat to the mind shaping the future of AI in business. I'm your host, Albert Ramos. Today's guest is someone who's not only challenging the way we think about sales and marketing, but also how we think about intelligence, AI itself. Steve Eror is the head of partnerships at Signals, an amazing company that I've gotten to learn a lot about. It's a platform that turns buyer intent and real time behavior into high converting conversations using AI. With a background in financial strategy and deep experience in B2B sales acceleration, Steve is leading the charge in shifting sales from workflow driven automation. I can't wait to talk about this to agentic AI, AI that thinks and acts in real time. He's worked across leadership roles at Ivanti, Inside Sales, Merrill Lynch, and Forethought, where he built and scaled sales teams across the Americas. So excited. But here's the thing, and we'll get into this. Steve doesn't just talk about workflows and lead scoring, which are important. He actually challenges the core assumption behind modern sales tech. Now, I know many of you want to hear more about this, and we'll get into it. He stated quite often, and he shows it in his work, that automation equals intelligence. He actually has a recent weekly series coming out. It actually just came out. Don't Make Me Prompt You. So excited. Make sure to check that out on LinkedIn. It breaks down the difference between workflows that follow rules and agents, can't wait, that make decisions. It's sharp, it's honest, like Steve, and exactly the kind of thinking we need more of. Steve also, and you probably saw it on LinkedIn, also helped bring to life, we're going to call him Chad. Now, it started as a practical joke, but I'll tell you, it's gotten a lot of attention and a lot of buzz as we start to see these variables of how powerful and intelligent these AI agents can be. He's calling it, and we were chatting about this earlier, the most advanced AI sales rep on the planet. So we'll have some fun. We'll chat about that too. It's been trained over 1 billion sales conversations and backed by data from Stanford, Harvard, MIT, and more. As they say, Chad isn't here to be polite. He's here to close, and you all can go on and experience him. I had a lot of fun with Chad. Steve, I've been looking forward to this conversation. We've been in many chats, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so excited to once you told me that you were had the time to come on the podcast. I know a lot of people out there are going to really enjoy learning more about you, learning more about what you've done, and talk about what you have going on over at Signals, because there's a lot going on, and you're just getting started. Steve,
Yeah,
thanks for jumping on.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me. This is any chance I can geek out about this kind of stuff, I get excited.
So, Steve, let's talk about LinkedIn. Actually, we'll jump right in. I know I mentioned it there in the intro. Don't Make Me Prompt You, which I love the name, by the way. Why don't you walk us through that first? What's the core message that you're looking to get across there?
Yeah, I think that the problem that we're seeing with AI right now is there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of promises. There's a lot of misunderstandings. And uh, what I wanted to talk about in that series is really I want to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. Um, I think I want to separate the style from the substance. Um, just because you slap AI on the back of your domain does not mean that it's an AI tool. Um, and I want to draw a line in the sand. You know, talk about the difference between like automation and intelligence, and really kind of clear everything up there so that people can actually make intelligent decisions.
I love that. And let's talk about that, because you say that a lot, and just chatting with you as I've learned more about you and Signals, but also on your LinkedIn post, which you're fairly active on there, which I really appreciate it because I get to learn from you on there as well. But you stated quite a bit, and I love it because you're challenging the status quo. Is workflows are not intelligence. Can you walk us through what you mean by that?
Yeah, certainly. Now, I also want to clarify. Um, there are intelligent workflows, and it's agentic workflows behind the scenes. If you
Right.
like enhanced AI or Clay, that's something different. But when I think about workflows, I think about like a flow chart, and it can't think; it only follows rules. And the best way to think about what those are is it's really a choose your own adventure book. I don't know if you ever remember those books when you were a kid. It's really the only place I spent time in the library was in that section in my school,
I love
reading those
that.
Choose Your Own Adventure books. That's a workflow. And if all of your automation does is that's not intelligence. That's just something following rules. Um, and I'll give you an example. Um, we talk about sales cadences, uh, and it would be that someone fills out a form, and then that gets put in the SDR's queue. The SDR calls out after 3 days, and then sends an email, and then automatically a LinkedIn, and then it follows this set steps. It's not intelligent. An agentic system sees that someone's on the pricing page and the acts now. It does something. It engages. It books a meeting because it sees there's an opportunity. So it behaves rather than goes through if this then that kind of logic.
It's so funny. I had an opportunity. I'd love to talk about how Signals is solving those pain points there, right? As you talk about, there's manual work, there's automation, there's agentic workflows, there's agents, and it's getting better and better every week, right? We talk
Hmm.
about it on our morning buzz show, the AI Executive Morning Buzz. I mean, there's something new every week, and Signals is leading the way there too. I'd love to hear more about Signals. And I had an opportunity to experience a feature of Signals where I wanted to attend an event. I got a nice phone call from who I truly thought was a real person. That was awesome. And she was asking me, how would you like to get your invite? And, I finally caught on. You obviously uh, got me up to speed there, and she asked me how do I wanted the invite, and I said, I wanted it in a I wanted it at the front of my door in an envelope and delivered by a Harry Potter owl. And not a second later, she says, Albert, you joke around too much. And she starts laughing, says, well, no, seriously, how would you like your invite? And Steve, I got to tell you, I hadn't experienced anything like that before. I've experienced, some avatar this and avatar that, agent this, but the quickness, the humor, the empathy, the tone, y'all have something great going on at Signals. Can you
Yeah,
walk us through what is Signals and walk us through as best, and I know we have a finite amount of time, but
sure.
the features and all of that.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we are paying attention to the behavioral signals of your potential buyer. We're looking at the profile signals of who they are, but it's the who they are and what they're doing, um, and what have they looked at? How many times have they been in your website? What page are they on? What industry are they from? What's their tech stack? Any data that we can bring in about your potential buyer. Are they following you on LinkedIn? Are they following your competitor on LinkedIn? All of that data that we gather informs our agents. And so when someone does fill out a form and says, hey, I want to attend this event, it's got all that intelligence right there at its fingertips. It knows when it calls what industry you're from. It knows when it calls um, how many times you've been on our website. Does it already have your email? Are you hiring? All that stuff powers it, which allows us to kind of let loose of the reins a little bit and say, okay, go. Your job is to call out to Albert. He filled out this form. Engage with him and talk to him about the event and try to maybe book an appointment with him. And she's going to have a conversation with you in that case. Um, so it's really taking that and informing our agents and letting them do what it is they need to do intelligently.
So there's a lot there, and there is this differing of thought where you were. people are out there, thought leaders are out there. We have some that come on the show, right? And we
Hmm.
challenge each other. I challenge them because I have a certain thought, and I'll get to that, or perspective. But there's this thought that we can use this intelligence to augment, right? To
Hmm.
make a, let's call it, employee or team member valuable and can be more productive. They can do more, do less of what is the monotonous, maybe task driven. They don't need to do that. They can focus on more value driven work. Then there's the thought of, right, because I hear it when you talk about agents and this agentic sales force, marketing force. Well, why do we even need the team member employee at all then? Right? When we can do this, we can do it cheaper, we can do it faster with more precision. And it remembers, it can see, it can hear, it now has mannerisms, and now has emotions, at least through the vocal, right? Through voice. Thoughts on that? I mean, where does Signals stand there? Is it to replace? Is it to augment? I mean, somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the role, right? If your job is simply, calling the same leads over and over and over again, it's repetitive, then it's going to get replaced. I mean, just ask the cashiers at Walmart or Costco, right? Like, there's a machine there that does it. Go to McDonald's. Um, but what that's going to allow to have happen is it's going to allow the rest of us who learn how to leverage AI and use it the right way to engage on a higher level. I don't have to worry about following up on a form fill, um, because the agents will take care of that for me. What I can worry about is like, okay, I need to have a conversation with Albert. He's in town. Let's go have lunch and let's go talk about it. Meanwhile, the agent is doing what it's doing in the background, putting stuff on my calendar, qualifying, bringing stuff to the top of the funnel that sorry, to the front of the line that needs to be brought to the front of the line. Um, it's acting on its own, so I can do those real high touch personal interactions better and more of them.
So I was going to just say that too, because you talk a lot about, and on LinkedIn, and having, having had conversations with you, you're very passionate about the human connection. And I love that you just walked us through that, right? Because it is about, some of it is the gritty work, right? What would be the tough stuff, the hard work, the repetitive. And what you're saying is, well, no, shoot, we're going to still keep the human in the loop. We just want to have more of the human connection, far more of those conversations, to your point, lunch or virtual coffee or what have you. Let's
Hmm.
get you in front of more people and let the agents take care of that tough work that we all know. For those that come from sales, I did too. It's tough work. Not a lot of people can do it, right? To
Right.
make phone calls, shoot out emails, SMS, etc. Right? It's a lot of hard work, and it's not made for everyone. But what you're saying here, and this is just one aspect of Signals, is Signals can take that over so that the fun part is being able to have a conversation, talking about the value prop, right? And for us salespeople out there, the close, the conversion piece of it, right? And am I getting that right?
Yeah, I think one way to look at it, and I love history, right? Much to my kids' chagrin, it's usually the History Channel if the TV's on, or it used to be the History Channel when they actually did history.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but if you look at what happened in Europe at the beginning of the Renaissance, right? There were some major leaps forward when it came to agriculture, which is kind of sounds kind of funny that I'm bringing that up. But what did that mean? Well, because we were rotating crops, because we knew how to fertilize, because we did things like planted in rows, our crop yield was significantly higher. And so what did that mean? Well, it meant that Albert, you didn't have to be a farmer. I didn't have to be a farmer. And our ancestors could do stuff like be a musician or a painter or a scientist or a
Right.
mathematician. We could start thinking because we weren't so worried about where is our family getting food day to day, because the farmer down the street is able to grow so much more than he needs that I can just go buy it. That allowed me to do other more impactful things in the long term. And I think AI is going to have a similar impact. It's going to take care of those things where, hey, someone comes on our website and they want to talk. Great, let's let that schedule time or answer the basic questions so that I can dive deeper and use my mind more, think more and do less.
Right. And I think people want that, right? I think people have a thirst for that. And I hope those that are out there, you're still contemplating, is AI something I lean into? Maybe not. Maybe this is your first episode that you've heard from the AI Executive Podcast and you're a little unsure. I mean, Steve, you put it out so great there. It actually it allows you to go be creative, go be the best you, right? To
Hmm.
go and think, to go solve and not be stuck at times, right? In some of the roles that, we've all been there, right? And actually in our current role, sometimes there's those things where you're just like, I wish I didn't have to. I wish there was four Alberts that could handle those things. And we're here, right? I think there's a lot of buzz out there that agents are the future, but Steve, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It's here now. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's
Signals
not
is
the future.
Signals is a
Yeah.
big part of it. You're already doing it. And I've been trying to get that message out quite a bit is y'all, this isn't a future thing. Like we're in it today, right now. And actually a part of me saying that is because I've seen what Signals can do.
Right. We have agents that are driving attendance to in-person events or following up on booth scans. We had a client who had us make 27,000 calls with our agents over the course of 2 or 3 days. Um, and we told it, hey, the first time you call, don't leave a voicemail, but maybe later on leave a voicemail that's appropriate for that person. It navigated through Google Assistants. It made it past uh, uh, front desk folks. Um, it got to the people that it wanted us. They wanted to get to, and it drove attendance there.
Wow.
It's recruiting agencies are using it to do initial phone screens, right? The part that recruiters hate the most, which is like, hey, do you want to drive this far to the work from where you live? I mean, those mundane questions, that's not why someone gets into recruiting. Let the agent do that. Law firms are using it to tell a client if they have a case or not in the middle of the night, right? There's all sorts of things that it can be used for. Um, and it's really fun to see all the different use cases that different clients are applying it to.
That's great. We've been chatting a lot about on the sales front, right? And I could totally envision it. I see it. I've seen it, right? Having spent time with you on a couple different calls and demos and all of that. What about the marketing side, right? For those that are in the marketing space, and actually our producer behind the scenes, Samantha, she's in marketing. She's out in Florida, still going to school, and it's awesome. She's in a program for marketing and AI, which that just goes to show you the education system's also changing. I think we had a morning show recently that talked about the Wharton MBA and AI program now, and I'm like, okay, here we go. We're getting everyone ready for what the now and future looks like. But the marketing side of things, how is that being impacted with features that Signals can do now? How does it change that entire industry?
Well, let's look at, is someone following you on LinkedIn? Marketing does this post on LinkedIn about some topic, and someone goes ahead and likes it, right? They've been to the website 3 or 4 times. The agent says, hey, this is someone we want to go after. Let's bring in everybody we would want to retarget to and automatically put them into a retargeting campaign. They're not quite ready to sell to, but we want to start marketing to these folks. Maybe you have a we call them chat agents, not a chat bot, because a chat bot is a workflow. A chat agent that goes and whatever messaging it pops up with, it is specific to that industry or that company or that title of the person who's on the website. Um, there's so many things that we can, like the email drip campaigns. We used to use Marketo or HubSpot to have these pre-done email drip campaigns that we did. You know what? Let's send that individual an email that's specific to their title, their personality, so that it resonates based off of what they looked at the website or what other people at their company looked at on the website or what they looked at on LinkedIn. There's all sorts of different ways that it can be used to warm people up, including lead scoring. I mean, I don't know, Albert, if you've ever been part of the conversation with the marketing team, the web team, where they're like, all right, so let's give them 10 points for a website visit. Let's give them 15 points
Right.
if they click on a link. Why? Because in the end, you're just like, it's like throwing grass up in the air and seeing which way the wind's blowing. Let's have an AI agent watch and say, hey, of all of the deals that go through your CRM, what actions does it take to go from an unknown visitor to a marketing qualified lead to an open opportunity to a closed deal? Let's score based off of that. And as the company changes, messaging evolves, let's evolve and change that scoring too. So now we can act on that scoring differently. It's let's use AI for those. I mean, the number of debates that I've been on and how many points for an email click versus an email open. Don't do that anymore.
I gotta tell you, so yes, the lead scoring or the points, coming from the finance background, which by the way, you have a pretty extensive finance background too. I kind of touched on it earlier,
Yeah,
but we got to give you a lot of credit. I mean, you're very creative and you have a finance background. I mean, you're all over sales, marketing. I mean, you're impressive, sir. It's great. I think
thank you.
when I think
Tell my
about
wife that more.
my pleasure. If you hear me, we got to get her on the show. She can listen in.
There we go.
But on the marketing front, it's so interesting. From my lens, I always look at marketing, and my question is always, okay, what's the ROI? What's the measurables leading to the actual dollar or margin? And when I think about signals and I think about all the features, right? I've seen, right, the analytics where my eyes just widen up because now I can see the direct correlation to the dollar. Can you walk through that? Because I think that's a huge missing link, at least on the marketing front. And no disrespect to the industry or anything like that. I still think marketing departments at times, and maybe I'm biased because I come from the CFO side, but at times they struggle with the measurable and how it truly impacts the bottom line, right? Because there's
Mhm.
impressions, awesome. There's the clicks, great. What is that doing to the bottom line? And when I started going through the analytics signals, right, and playing in the sandbox and in the demos and all of that, for me, it was exciting because it connected those dots. And I'm like, holy smokes. I was already blown away, but that right there was okay. They're a game changer. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I had a partner I was talking to about signals and how he's using it with his clients and what he's trying to do. And he told me he had this one client who couldn't sell himself out of a paper bag. And he's really technical, but like this guy just like couldn't message, couldn't sell anything. He goes, the great thing about signals is like he doesn't have to sell or market. I do the marketing and the messaging, and he's paying me to write out the copy for his website, or he's paying me to come up with some marketing strategy. And it used to be I reported back like, yeah, your website gets this many clicks. I'm sorry you can't sell. That's a you problem. Um, Now what he's delivering is closed deals. He's delivering like opportunities, and he's delivering pipeline revenue. So it's taking what a marketer could do and leapfrogging 3 or 4 steps that you'd have to send to like a business development team or even a sales team, and they're delivering a lot further down the funnel, which means to the CFOs in the room, revenue, which is
Exactly.
music to your ears, rather than
Exactly.
so many people saw our posts. No one cares about that. I mean, that's important, but they really care about the bottom line revenue.
Exactly. I love that. So let's switch gears because I brought him up, and I'm really hoping there's some sort of correlation of Wedding Crashers because I remember the movie Wedding Crashers, and there was the Chad. I just remember that, and so then I saw your post with Chad, and then I got to play with him. I'm like, oh man, he's not polite, he's intense,
Be
and it
careful. He's
started off
sworn
as
at
a
a couple
practical.
people.
It started off as a practical joke, right? But walk us through. Okay, walk us through. What was Chad? What was the intent? And then I'd imagine there's a ton of learnings because I saw the amount of buzz and the attraction power. I mean, people, you probably had a ton of data. What'd you
Yeah.
learn from that experience and that and the joke?
Yeah. So, well, it was a ton of fun. So what we did is we decided on April Fools. Well, let me give you some background. Is I got into tech by working for a company called InsideSales.com, and InsideSales.com years ago, 10 years ago, and
Great
then
organization.
I loved working for it. And then again in 2020, 2021, they did a study, and they had the largest sales database in the world of sales interactions, like what happens. And so um, they knew, hey, when is the best time to reach out? How many times do you need to call? All that stuff. And founder of Signals, Dave Elkington, was also the founder of Inside Sales. And so we thought, hey, what if we turn that on its head and we create the broiest sales agent we could possibly come up with? What would we name him? Well, we'd name him Chad. Would make it an acronym. What does the acronym stand for? Doesn't matter. Don't even care. It's an acronym because that's the coolest way to do it. And we let him go. And uh, Dave and a friend of ours, Gabe, did a video. It took them so long to film that video because they couldn't help laughing.
That's awesome.
They Chad is designed to close. You probably won't invite him over to Thanksgiving dinner, um, but he is. We just let him loose and say, "Hey, listen, we want you to out Gordon Gecko, out Jordan Belford, out David Goggins, and make Grant Cardone look embarrassed, and let him loose." But here's the thing: while Chad himself is a parody, and it's a joke, I was shocked how many people thought it was real. Um, we had one kid who was coming in for an interview here, and he was doing some research on us and landed on Chad, and I heard the audio, and Chad beat the snot out of him, really just beat him up, and I felt bad. Um, but
Did y'all hire him? Or is he gone?
uh,
He's I'm out of
it,
here. Chad.
it was for the marketing or CS team, so I don't know what they did, but I will say that the thing is that the technology is real behind Chad, even if we kind of put this kind of funny spin on it. And he is hilarious. Try telling him you've got like, $200 and throw anything at him, like push him, and he rolls with it.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
I love it. I enjoyed the experience and I appreciated you giving me the heads up. Hey, go try this out. I'm like, let me take a look.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, it was intense. It was, but that's where I was going to is while a joke, the data behind, right, and what it's being powered by, the intelligence behind it, it was impressive. And I think one, as we go on LinkedIn, we need more of that, right? We need the humor, we need something raw, something authentic, something edgy. We're all looking for some of that sometimes, and it
Right.
was great to see what sometimes we think this AI, it's AI in the future. It's already here. I mean, the ability to go through some of those conversations and back and forth with Chad was excellent. I really enjoyed it, and I just loved also seeing, honestly, as a fan of Signals, just so many people gravitating towards it. I was reading all the comments, and they're cracking me up because every experience was different, right, depending
Hmm.
on how the conversation flowed. So
Yeah, we quite literally, with all of our, we call them our cloud employees, we give them a persona. So in this case, he's a salesperson. Um, and we give him a personality. Oh, so we give him a role, which is salesperson. We give him a persona, which is bro, Chad. And then we give them a personality, which is in this case overly aggressive. Don't take no for an answer. No means yes, and no means really yes. And let him go. And it was fun to see how creative he got, and it didn't matter what was thrown at him. Um, One person made the comment, or Chad made the comment, like, "I'm going to show you what this is the greatest thing since sliced bread." This guy said, "I don't like sliced bread. I like French bread," and he's just started making fun of the French. It was like really rude, but that was kind of the point. And the thing is, if you've been in sales long enough, you've known Chad. You've worked
You
with
know.
Chad.
Okay, so you made me think of something, and this is a total shameless plug too. I went to school at a place called, not many know about it. You can look it up. It's a school of 2,000 kids. My undergrad, Occidental College in Pasadena or Eagle Rock, California. And a buddy of mine, you might know him. He goes by the name of Corp. You'll see him. It's he's on the Salesforce commercials now. I mean, I don't know what was going
Mhm.
on because he wasn't that funny in college, and I'm sure he'll listen to this one day and kill me. But now he's on all the Salesforce commercials, and it's corporate bro,
Yeah.
and it's so funny.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We need to get him in front of Chad. How funny would that be?
Oh,
I'll introduce you on LinkedIn. I know he's pretty active on there.
oh, it would
But him
be.
and Natalie, they have their own. I forget what it's called, but they have a great podcast where they're just they're just saying a bunch of funny stuff that truly goes on in the corporate environment, the sales environment, marketing. It's hilarious.
I've watched countless videos of his, and it would be a treat to see him go toe to toe with Chad. I
That'd be
think
awesome. We'll get him
he
on
might have
there.
found his match.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get him on there. Shoot, he might want Chad, to be honest. He's like, Signals, like, get me my Chad. I need it. We're gonna throw him on Salesforce. So I'll do an e introduction. So switching gears on use cases. There's a lot of people out there, right? And they hear about these amazing organizations like Signals that have been leaning in, have done a lot of research, have a lot of data, a lot of training when it comes to AI and agents, right? There's many out there that are just getting started. And
Mhm.
how what's your recommendation? Do you have a use case or a specific tool or tools that you'd recommend, aside from Signals, obviously, for those that are just getting started in the world of AI? Like, what should they be using? What can they be testing? How do they approach this so that they don't feel like this adoption is widening, this gap is being created and widening? What can they do out there?
I think the first thing is pick a model, Grok, uh, whether Claude, OpenAI, Google's, whatever. I don't care, and have a problem that you're trying to solve, and start talking to it, and start solving the problem, um, and start working through it. Understand how it works. One of the things, I've got about a 45-minute commute into the office, and I will turn on ChatGPT, their advanced voice model, and I will just work through problems, whatever problem that I'm trying to work through. And it could be something at work. It could be, hey, when do I need to overseed grass? And how do I prep my lawn? Like whatever that is, go and start just using it. Um, then once you do, like what's going to happen is you're going to start to see ways to use it that are unique and new. One of the things that you need to keep in mind is essentially what these LLMs are is the world's greatest search engine, right? That's so go and ask it questions. How do I fix this car? Yeah, I've got this model. Like, what do I do? And then start thinking about now that I know that, where can I start doing stuff with work? How can I start to build this out? One of the things you'll learn, and I think one of the problems that people run into is people will just say, "Hey, I'm writing an email to Albert Ramos, trying to get him to take a call with me. Go." And it gets this garbage email that probably starts with Albert, hope all is well, with about a million emojis.
Exactly. And then subtext bold, like bold keyword here, bold keyword there.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And guess what? I can smell it a mile away. Um, and what you need to do is say, okay, here's the email I wrote to to reach out to Albert. What I want you to do is go out and look at all of the thought leaders in terms of email outreach. Look at Jeb Blount, look at Mike Weinberg, look at all the sales leaders out there. Bring this in, and I want all of them to evaluate my email and tweak it so Albert will respond. That's a good way to do it. That's a good way to start getting into it.
I love
Then you can
that.
start saying, okay, this is how you start using agents on your own company.
It's funny. I ended up purchasing a tool, and I love Chat GPT voice. Like you, I mean, leading into or prepping for in-person meeting, right, and feeding it and talking to it with all the research that I've done, and it's talking back to you on different recommendations, plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way through, right? Or to your point, for personal things, personal projects, I'll be honest, right? There's times where like, how can I respond more empathetically to my wife right now? It's like, sometimes I need that help. I'm not the most empathetic.
What
And
should I
sometimes
get for a Valentine's gift?
exactly. What should I get? Here's what she likes. And it's so funny. But no, it's true though. You can use it for that. It's hyper intelligent. I purchased this tool, this little tool. You can put it on a lanyard. Actually, it's called Plod. You probably heard of it.
Mhm.
It has a 24-hour battery life, and you can transcribe everything. I mean, it's like a rolling diary for yourself. And I personally like it. As I geek out like you on AI, but also on efficiency. So I'll tell
Mhm.
it everything about my day, and I've done this for let's call it at least for a month. You do it for at least in the month, it's going to find your inefficiency. It's going to tell you, once you're chatting back and you upload the transcription to, let's call it chat. Let's use chat, for example, whether it's a GPT agent, etc. It's going to let you know as it breaks down everything you've done for a month, where you can be better. Let's call it that way, more productive or more efficient, more effective. And so I love that. I love what you're saying though, is, pick one problem and lean in there, right? I think a lot of people try to solve everything going on, and it reminds me of the enterprise. Same thing. It's what's the true pain point? Let's start there and test, not try
Mhm.
to solve all our different problems, right? Same
Mhm.
thing personally. What's that one thing that you just wish, you know, I wish I had support here. I wish I had another one of me, and start there. I think that's really, really good advice. And just to circle back on that too, or I guess double click on it, is where do you feel like AI just shouldn't be involved? Is there any place in work or in personal life where you just think, we don't need to over automate, or we don't need to over AI that part of what we do? Anything that comes to mind there?
I think there's wrong ways to use AI, but I'm trying to think of an area in which AI shouldn't be used. And I've sat there just personally had some family issues, as everybody has a family issue, and I'm sitting there like, oh, my sister and I just are not getting along. All right, I want to bring in every therapist, like the top family therapy
Got
leaders.
me.
You are my therapist right now. This is the message my sister sent me. I'm feeling all upset. How do I respond to this? Oh, well, here's some things to think about. Now, I wouldn't copy and paste that and send it to my sister, um, but there's a use case for using that on with your kids. How do I get my kids to go to bed? I think Gemini did an ad on that once,
So good.
right? Because it's true. I've used it in video games. How do I beat this level? You know, um,
That dang Zelda game, you can never beat
right,
that bot.
right. What's the secret? Oh, well, this is what you need to do. Go here and here and here and here, and it's done.
You know what I used to do? And I got to give a shout out to my mom. She actually played with us, which my dad couldn't give. He didn't care. He's like, I'm never gonna play that stuff with you. What do y'all do? Get outside, go pull weeds. My mom would play with us, and we had, it's just crazy how the technology has evolved. We had one of those magazines where you
Oh,
call them
Nintendo
like,
Power.
okay, yeah, it's like, we don't know how to solve this. Can you walk us through how to beat this level? And like the tech has completely evolved. Where to your point, it's like this massive, powerful, intelligent search engine. You can go in there, or we'll talk to your chat GPT, let's call it, and get it immediately, versus you're waiting on the line. They're trying to figure it out while your level's still going. You've died a couple times while you're on the line already. It's just,
Yep.
it's nuts. It's awesome. I'm a big gamer too. So, man,
Well,
I miss those days.
what about this? My nephew's got celiac, and there's certain recipes that he loves. Hey, how do I make this recipe something that somebody who's uh, uh, for someone who's got celiac disease, who can't
So
have any
good.
gluten, adjust this recipe and make sure it would taste good. Um, it's really good at that. Like I think that ChatGPT now has a function where you can take a picture of your fridge and it will give you a bunch of recipes based off the picture of your fridge.
Amazing.
And one thing I want to highlight though is that's an LLM, right? It's a input output type of thing. It's not agentic AI. There's a big difference there.
Yeah, can you
And
walk us through that? Because I've gone through it a couple times on our live shows, and we're still getting questions because I think people are still confused as they're walking into let's and I'll continue to use chat just for example purposes, but they start using chat, right? They do the normal, hey, here's what I need, or what do you think about this? Just your typical search engine type of approach,
mhm.
right? And then as you get more, let's say more advanced, you start using frameworks, or we like using Pico, persona, right? Information, which we're used to, context, which you gave an example earlier, like here's what I have, here's what it should look like or be formatted now, use, and then optimization, which personally I like it. I like to say, hey, before you give me any output, ask me 20 follow-up questions so we can be more precise here. Right. So
Yeah,
frameworks. Then you get into automation, right? Then you get into the agentic workflows, right? And many are familiar with Zap or some other things. And then we're talking about like a NAN or agent.com, right? Your agents that you're training. There's going to be less human in the loop that you would have when it's GPT, right? If then
mhm.
that, or I prompt you, you spit it out, right? It's still not going on its own. There's not really a lot of autonomy there. So I know I just gave my example, but what am
Yeah,
I missing there? How would you explain it better than what I just did so people understand like what tier they're in? Because sometimes you said it earlier. That's not AI. That's automation, right?
yeah,
That's not agentic workflow. That's your typical just LLM prompting, spit out, right?
right. I'll give you an example. Well, first let me tell you the word agentic and the word agency come from the same Latin root, right? Which is the Latin word for to act. So they come from the same. And we talk, you talk about free agency, the ability to act on your own, to
Right.
choose. That's what an agentic AI can do. It can act. So I have in ChatGPT, I'm not very fashion conscious. So I have uploaded every bit of clothing that I have into a document, and I've trained ChatGPT on this. And when I got it, who made it, right? And every once in a while, I'll go in and I'll ask it, hey, what needs to get rotated out? And it tell me, hey, those boots,
Wow.
those uh, those have seen better days. Rotate them out. Or
You
hey, I'm
surprise me every time we chat. This is
or I'm going to this event. I'm going to this networking event tonight. It's in South Jordan, Utah. Um, what should I wear? And I have it go out and look at the weather, go look at the event, go look at, and then give me back a recommendation. It really and that is a workflow. I'm kicking it off. I'm saying, hey, go do this. What a true agentic AI does is it's working in the background, and it would be looking at my calendar, and it would just send me a message and say, hey, you know what, Steve, you've got this event tomorrow night. Um, you don't have anything that looks good. By the way, here's a pair of pants you should go buy, and here's a shirt you should go buy, or even better yet, it's on its way, right? Um, I tried an experiment. Speaking of clothes, I went ahead and I said, hey, these pants fit well. These pants are baggy. This is the size. This is the make. And I uploaded every pair of pants I had. I said, I need a pair of jeans. What jeans should I buy and what size? Go find them. And it said, hey, you want to pair this pair of jeans, this brand, this model, and this size, and it'll fit you perfectly. And I did it blind. Didn't try them on, anything. It was as far as a guy's shopping dream because I hate trying clothes on.
I know. I'm the same way. It's amazing.
They showed up and they fit perfectly. It was great because it was taking all those inputs, but that is a workflow. If they just showed up and it's like, hey, Steve, you really need this, that would be agentic AI.
Great example. And we're here, right? I think the shopping experience, the retail experience, the sales experience, the customer, and it's amazing to see where the technology where it is today, and also the chatter of where it's going. Right, you hear the CEO of Nvidia get on stage, and now
Oh, he's
there's many robots coming out of the stage, and Altman and all the different headliners out there, DeepSeek, and just it's a race. It's exciting,
It
It's
absolutely
sometimes
is.
it's hard to keep track, but I'm always challenging people use it because it's so powerful. I mean, I was just using Sora. I don't even know if people know too much about Sora, but the imagery. I did a little.
Mhm.
I was on that action figure wave on LinkedIn where you can create your own action figure and just see the realistic all the different features of if it was me as a and my kids were going nuts by the way, and I had a little calculator, right?
But
I had
now
a
you want it
little
made, right?
computer.
Now you want to make it.
Now we yeah, and actually people are out there. I see it in the comments. Oh, I hope that thing floats in the bath. I'm like, wait a second, this is a joke. This isn't real. This isn't a real. I'm not a toy. Um, well, another great movie, Toy Soldiers. But yeah, it's just crazy to see what Sora can do now. And I just when all these features are all whipped together, right? Similar to over at Signals, just all the features that whip together your ecosystem, just how powerful it can be.
I think there's one thing that I want to add to that makes something agentic as well versus a triggered workflow or just a triggered workflow is that one of the reasons chat is so good is because so many people called him and talked to him. And so what Chad does as well is reinforcement learning. So Chad has a goal, which is get you to this point, and he is learning from his goal, right? He is, we actually train in the reverse. So if he hits the goal, that's a bad thing. And if he doesn't do it, it's a good thing. So keep being worse. Um, but it was just the nature of what we do with him. But a true agentic AI has reinforcement learning. And so if it's just in, out, and there's not that reinforcement learning, it's really good. It can even be AI, but it's not an agentic AI.
Well, you said something the other day on your LinkedIn, and actually I came back to it quite a few times, and I appreciated what you were saying, and I saw the comments in there, I saw your responses, but you said AI won't replace you unless you let it. I was like, oh man, that's deep, and I gotta call Steve. I need to know more about this. I didn't, but I kept coming back to your post. What advice do you have? We were talking about sales team members, marketing team members. What advice do you have for them so that they future proof themselves, especially those roles that we know, right, are going to be widely owned and driven by this digital species, as I would call it, or
Mhm.
agents? What's your advice?
My biggest advice would be learn it, use it, figure out how you can leverage it to make you and your job and whatever it is you're doing more effective. Because if you don't, you're going to get replaced by someone who does. Um, I grew up in Detroit in the 80s, and it was the time when the assembly line was getting replaced. Everybody on this line with robots, right? And everybody's like, I'm going to lose my job, and a lot of people did, except for the people who learned how to work with the robots. They're invaluable, and I think understanding how AI works and how it can help your role, and I don't care what your role is, it can help. Um, I don't care if you're a nurse. I don't care if you are a CFO and working on the stuff, Albert, that you work with. I don't care if you are a marketer or a student. Um, AI can make your job and your experience better. My daughter used it to apply for a job. She had to write a cover letter. She's never written a cover letter before. She didn't even know what it was, but she had enough to build a knowledge base to give context, and that it wrote the most amazing cover letter for her and landed the job like right away.
Amazing.
So
So much
learn how to
good that
use
it
it.
can do.
Yeah.
And I love the advice. Let me ask you this, with your background in tech and finance and sales, right? Leadership. If you were to go into organizations today and you were tasked to, and you just had this vision, I'm going to go in, I'm going to take a look at this sales tech stack or marketing tech stack. Right off the bat, what are some of the things, especially as you all have a ton of clients, a lot of users, right, and
Mhm.
subscribers to Signals, and yeah, clients. What are you seeing there? Like, why are you still? You do not need this. We can cut this out. What is that? What is it? in those tech stacks that for the large part based on the trends that you've seen behind the scenes, what do people need to start considering? Like, yeah, it's time to evolve away from that.
Um, I think there's a lot of really good use cases for a lot of the tech that's out there. And to be honest, some of the tech that I would say, hey, move away from that, it is also evolving, right? I think like marketing automation or cadence tools, it's evolving. Um, and it should really look at um, I don't know that it's necessarily a replace because there's certainly like there's things that we can do better than a dialer, for example, than a cadence tool.
Right.
Um, but where I really think you need to look at is where's the hole in the funnel, right? If you are excited because it only takes your team 5 hours to respond to a form fill on your website, you have a major hole in the funnel. Going back to my inside sales days, we know there's an 80% drop off of contactability after 5 minutes of someone filling out the form.
Hmm.
So use AI to respond right away. Um, Look and see where those holes are uh, through and upgrade. And if your tool doesn't allow you to upgrade, move faster, that's the one you need to replace. I don't know that there's one technology as a whole that I would just wholesale.
Well, I think the message that you're putting out there too that I really appreciated, especially for I have a lot of marketing clients that reach out to me for financial help, and then also through White Glove, right? As we're working through the managed service, VCAO, Launchpad, and teaching, and different products that White Glove has within its ecosystem. One of the things that I like that you put out there though is the what you call the minimum effective stack, right? I love the way you put that. Is we need to start thinking about not over tooling. It's kind of like what we were saying earlier. Don't over automate. Don't over AI. Don't over tool. I love what you say about that specifically for sales and marketing teams out there. I appreciate that. And what I love too, because I hope people go and rewind what you just said earlier on. You were using, I love KPIs, right? And I just took that away, and I'm going to rewatch this and like, okay, I'm going to start measuring this. What are the other measurable KPIs now that for instance, let's again signals. Now that you know what signals can do, and you're a big part of building this, right? What are the measurables that are the most important in your eyes now that we have this intelligence at our fingertips?
I would go and look at like how much pipeline are we getting off of our website? How much do we need to adjust our our tools? How fast are we responding? Is it converting like it should? Look at just the very basics. It can be so much better, but I don't think we need to worry. Yes, I think we still need to look at things like click-through rates on emails. But you know what does that better? An AI that will then take the click-through rates and optimize the next round of emails that go out,
Excellent.
right? So let's worry about the pipeline.
Love
I
that.
think
And
that's the main KPI, right? The pipeline and the revenue.
I love, and you mentioned it earlier too. Again, back to the learning lessons of what started as a practical joke in Chad, and then you mentioned as he was having more conversations, he was being trained more, he was learning, he was getting better at being Chad, right? But
Mhm.
similarly, right to what you just mentioned, the click through rate on emails, and well, why human in the loop there, use AI, allow it to be trained so that it gets more effective, so that the content that it uses to follow up gets better and better each time. And this is where I'm challenging people out there to think about, right? It's not just your automation piece, which it has a place, right? You have this intelligence that can get better and better over time, right? As you train it up or as you build it to do so, and you can be more effective. And to your point, you can have the capacity to get in front of more people, to build your pipeline is far greater and easier to do nowadays if you lean into AI. Or if you decide you just want to do the same thing that you've done always that got you to this point. I mean, I tell people a lot, I mean, start jumping on this because we're helping your competitors jump on this.
Mhm.
Jump on it. That reminds me, actually, I said that at an event. It's now coming to mind. Can you talk about your events? Like, I was one of the speakers at your RevTech event, and of course, my Wi-Fi was all messed up. I'm like, great. I'm going to talk about AI. I'm going to talk about how you pitch a CFO to invest in AI, and my Wi-Fi is all. You're, by the way, the team, Rochelle and right, I'm sorry, and the whole group is outstanding. But can you talk about the events that Signal sponsors and hosts? Because I think
Yeah.
I'd love for a lot more people to be involved there. You have some great speakers, and I was so honored to be a part. And I'm actually there's one coming up that I'm prepping for as well. But more people need to know about it because they're amazing. I mean, the way you all run it and organize it is outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have what's coming up in May, our Talk AI Summit. Funny enough, if you are able to talk to Chad long enough without just walking away from your computer, um, he will try to get you registered for the Talk AI Summit. But it's talking about all things AI on the enterprise level. Like, how can this be used? What needs to be done? Um, I was talking to one person today who's going to be speaking about how he's training the upcoming sales force that is in college learning how to use AI, and how this next generation that's coming up, they're going to be kind of AI native. And we need to plan for that. How do we manage teams that are so used to working in AI? Really excited for this event coming up. Yeah, and it's we actually have a couple agents on the Talk AI Summit page that you can talk to and
That's
register
awesome.
there right there with it.
That's great. Well, a couple more questions. I really love to circle back to Signals. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a big fan because it really does great work. And who is Signals for? Can you walk through that? And who, for those listening out there, what are their pain points currently, Steve, and why should they consider Signals?
Signals is going to be for uh, if a company that's scaling, or a company that's they're at their bandwidth capacity. It's going to be for companies that are looking to become more efficient. And I'll give you a couple examples. The SDR role. We've been in that role. We've hit the phones. We've you know smiled and dialed. Um, and the problem that you have with that role, for example, is that your average SDR sticks around for a year, maybe 18 months. Um, and no one ever takes that role because they want to be an SDR. They take that role because they want to be another job. They want to be an AE, or they want to go into leadership, or they want to go into marketing. That's their foot in the door. Um, and so the great thing about our agents is they stick around. Um, whether that be that tribal knowledge that you train them on,
I was just gonna
that'll,
say the knowledge base. Yep.
yeah, exactly. Line those up with your SDRs and say, hey, guess what? I'm not replacing you with this, but train this, and you get to take advantage of anything that this your agent brings in. Those are on your numbers. Train it, teach it, have it follow up. You can do the high touch stuff. It's going to do that. And eventually, when you promote them to an account executive, guess what? Your agent, you didn't lose that SDR knowledge. It's a biotech company that is paying a doctor to answer questions about their medical device. And most of the questions that really expensive resource gets is answered with, have you tried turning off the device and turning it back on again? That's a really expensive use of a physician. Instead, train the agent to answer those technical and early clinical questions. And if it's out past that, now you bring in the doctor, or you bring in the CS rep,
Right.
right? Um, it's the recruiter who they really just want to take everybody, as many people as they can, through um, the the screening calls. Let the agent do that. You're trying to drive attendance. Whatever you're trying to do at a bigger scale, that's where we can step in.
I love that. I love that you brought up recruiter. Actually, we're gonna have the founder of Fana AI Anna Buchanan will be coming on, and oh, you're gonna love it. And actually, I should introduce you. She's creating an organization where she's surrounding herself. It's a recruiting agency, but agents. It is not humans. So using avatar, using, shoot, maybe chat should be a what would that be like? Well, you just said it. You actually had an interview experience with.
Yeah,
That is great.
poor kid,
We'll have Anna like, hey, you looking for a recruiter? His name's Chad. Like,
right?
we'll bring him on the squad. That's great. Well, this has been amazing, Steve. Where can we find more? Where can people find you? Where can they learn more about you? Talk about your series that we were mentioning earlier, and then how do they find Signals and learn more about it?
Yeah. So honestly, if you can go to getsignals.ai, that's our website. If you're curious about Chad, um, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to send you a link, and you can go and mess with Chad, and you can see what's possible out there. Just keep in mind the technology behind him is real. You can reach out to me, like I said, on LinkedIn, or email me at steve.error@getsignals.ai. Really, I love interacting with people about AI. As far as the series goes, I'm just getting started. I have a couple of articles planned, but if you've got a question about AI, like how does this fit in? What's the difference between a chat bot and a chat agent? Let me know, and I'll include that in the series there.
Excellent, excellent. I love it. Well, Steve, thank you so much. This was such a pleasure. I'm so glad again, so thankful that you got to jump on. And I really do ask people, please reach out to Steve. He is a breath of fresh air. We can talk about this for days, and you're just a good human. I really
Thank
appreciated our
you. You
chats,
too.
and yeah, I appreciate that. And just we've had some great conversations, and not only are you ultimate professional, you're a great family man, and you just keep it real. I appreciate that. What I would call, many people hear this, the transactional versus transformational. You're the transformational type, and it's you have this gravitational pull, and I want to just spend more time. Can't wait to get back to Salt Lake City. But for everyone out there, please reach out, learn more, whether it's about Signals, whether it's learning more about the series that Steve's putting out there, or just getting a chance to chat with Steve. There's a lot of great stuff there. So thanks again. And for everyone, as I always mention on the morning buzz every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7:30 Central in the morning. Stay curious, stay innovative. This is another episode. We're wrapping it up. The AI podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.